wasn't expecting to find anything like this. I almost stepped into this hole, but check this out. Look at that. Look at that over there. See how they was digging in there?
Welcome everybody to the channel, Dakota Prospecting. Well, in this little adventure, we're going to check out an old placer camp that I had noticed one time while hiking this trail here. This is the Mickelson Trail. And further on down, there is an old camp that's not on the maps anywhere, and you really can't hardly see it unless you are looking and you know what signs to look for. I came across the signs about 2 years ago and haven't gotten around to checking her out. So this time I thought, well, it's a beautiful day we got here on our hands in the month of June. And figured it's high time I check her out. By the way, this was a tunnel that they built for the railroad. Railroad used to run through the Black Hills, came at it from Edgemont down further south there and went up to Deadwood. And that was the main train that came through the hills, and they've created a bike path on it. Pretty cool.
So before we head on down there, I thought that this might be worth a look to y'all. The way they've shored this up. I mean, it's amazing. It's like almost like the pyramids or something. And these are like 12 by 12s. Pretty amazing, I'm telling you. And now in the coal mines, there were sections that were considered critical to the operation of the mine. And you might have a roof fall that went way up like this is. This is probably about, I'd say 15 feet, somewhere like that. Well, they didn't need it that high to mine the coal. But if the roof would fall out, then the only way to support it and keep that entryway open was to shore it up. So they'd clean out that gob, and you'd always see like a cavity, and sometimes it would dome and kind of be stable, but sometimes there'd be slicky slide and it could still fall, so they'd shore up like that. So this is kind of like shored up like the mine, and if you think about it, this is a tunnel going into the side of a mountain, so it's kind of like an adit or a drift. So now that's when they did the restoration. They replaced those timbers. And then these ones in here, these are original, these darker ones. And I imagine they got dark because they had a steam locomotive, and those things put out a lot of smoke. And over the years, it just darkened this whole thing. And you can see where they notched them there. And then they made an archway so that each one is pushing against another the way you would do with block or brick or stone. Pretty amazing. Yeah, and then they got these sideboards here keeping the runoff from dropping down into the entryway here. And up in here on the same side. This is all 12 by 12, fellas. I mean, this is some serious timber they put in here. All right, well, hope you enjoyed that little diversion. What do you say we head on down this trail and hit that placer camp? See you in a bit. All right, fellas, here's one of the structures on this site. Now, this is a placer gold operation, and I'll take you over to where they was going through the placer field. But this old log cabin here, what's left of it, and they've got some 60 penny spikes put into it, so don't think it's turn of the century. I see some wire nails down there on the bottom. Now, they could have been added later, but these are definitely 60 penny. It must have been a pretty big operation. There is quite a bit of diggings I'm going to take you to. It's kind of neat to see a log cabin. You don't see too much of that. Over here they got some mortar, and that's just crumbles. It was probably the chinking that they put in here. Long gone, fallen out, what have you. So let's take a look at the front side of this. So here's the inside of the cabin. Now, this one is not on any maps whatsoever. I just found this by hiking a trail, and I noticed what looked like some diggings from a distance. So I came up in here to check it out, and lo and behold, here we are. So there's that 60 penny nail going through that shiplapped these corners, and they pinned them with 60s. Right there, you can see there. This is obviously an outside corner that's collapsed, and that's the front of it there. So I got them a picture window over there, isn't it? Yeah, must be what used to be a window right there. If you look at the top of that log there, it's been notched out. Looks like it was done with a handsaw and not a chainsaw. If you look at that kerf mark right there, you can see that kerf mark underneath there. That's a handsaw, and it doesn't look like it's a buck saw either. Over in the distance there, I see another one, remains of a cabin. So yeah, cool. Now here's a couple of pieces of quartz. Yeah, that's all quartz. Now this is placer, okay, so they weren't hard rocking it here. So there's the cabin up there, and then if we come over here, just about 20-25 feet away from it is where you have some big placer excavation here that had gone on, and they cut a big trench right through this placer pile, and the creek is just down over there a ways. Well, sir, that other cabin is the Johnny. Right there. Yep, there it is. And there's the roof. Kind of just a straight lean-to. Yeah, that's the Johnny. Right down in there. There's black gold in there, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, they built them a little outhouse here. That took some work. So you see over there in the distance, that's where that cabin was. So you know they was here for a while and plan on being here a while. All right. And that's the front of it. Right there. Boy, but you know what? A log cabin Johnny. I don't think I've ever seen one of these before. You know, usually just slap it together with some boards and look down in there. Huh. Look how they notched that one in there, huh? Yeah. And that's something. You know, today they use joist hangers and metal clips to do what they used to do back in the day when they would actually notch the wood and put it together that way. They don't hardly do that anymore unless it's some kind of historical restoration. So now it's peppered with the typical exploratory diggings. And over there, right here, got another one. They threw some trash in it, and then over there's another one. It's kind of level up in here, and we're a little bit distant from the creek, but apparently there must have been some kind of promise here, otherwise they wouldn't have went ahead and tried for this far back from the creek. So there's the remains of an old wash tub or pan. Right there. I don't believe that was for gold. Would be nice to find one of them, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be way cool. Now on this one, they got a little more ambitious. Looks to me like that's about 7 foot down in there. If you look here, it's real level with hardly any trees. Now we're behind that cabin, and pretty open and level, but when you come to the edges, that's where they were digging. There's a marker right there, a survey marker, and it's not very old at all. And up there is where that flat area is, and I'm standing by that survey marker. And you see up in there where they was working this placer, and right here is where they were piling their overburden. And down in there is some more overburden piled up. They removed quite a bit of material, it looks like. Here's a galvanized tub of maybe the 50s or so. Well, now here's a structure, and it's in much better shape than that log building. It looks like somebody had propped it up. Either that or a board accidentally fell that way. Maybe that's what it was. But it looks like it's a newer type structure. It has this beaded board there. Now, they had that back in the day. They would use that as wainscoting in homes, you know. And it looks like it has a metal base to it, or bin underneath it. So it was painted white from what I could see, and it had those tar shingles, and that's old school there. That's 50s at least. So let's take a look at the front. Well, what we got here is a two-holer. Check this out. We got a Johnny that's a two-holer. Maybe it's his and hers. Certainly some advanced thinkers. And look what they got there, a little deer there, kind of rocking in the breeze there, going yeah, man, this is pretty cool. Well, this is certainly a deluxe version of what they had over there in that log cabin deal. They got them an upgrade here, and looks to me like that is plywood right there, so it can't be that old. And then there's a metal box in the bottom there, so they didn't actually dig a pit like they normally do. They put a metal can there, and I guess they scooped it out when it was full. It wouldn't take very long. So this definitely, fellas, was a camp that had been here for a good while in terms of its operation, because to put this kind of effort into a place like this, and that old beaded board there, definitely indicates some serious commitment in terms of it for a placer camp. And they got them, it's all trimmed out. Let's go on the inside. We got some squirrels living here, or squirrel, because you see all these pine cones. Wouldn't be surprised if they live in that little hole right there. And looking out, that's the out view. No graffiti. It's got a nice patina, that wood, actually. A real nice patina. I'm looking like that is solid wood. Yeah, that's solid wood right there. That's not like today it would be a plywood that's scored, but that's solid wood. And it looks like it comes in sections. Right there, you can see where they did a 45-degree miter, and there's a tongue and groove. So this is T&G beaded board in and out. I don't think I've ever seen that, and it's solid. Now, if you look at that board, boy, it is not free. That's grade #1 select. And so today that would be pretty spendy to buy something like that. You wouldn't be putting it on no Johnny, that's for sure. Now we got a maker's mark on that beater board right there. Let me take a picture of that for y'all. So that's a picture, and it looks like Weyerhaeuser logo with that triangle there. Yeah, this is the Ritz for a placer camp. Well, somebody's missing a spine and a jaw. Oh, that was just a little old young thing, wasn't it? Look at that. I'll tell you what, well, that's where we're all heading, fellas, sooner or later. That's just nature. All right, fellas, now I wasn't expecting to find anything like this, because I figured this was strictly placer, you know, but I almost stepped into this hole, and it ain't very big. It's probably maybe 4 by 3 at the most, And first I thought it might have been a sinkhole, but check this out. I hope you all can see it. Fellas got to be careful. They don't want to fall in there. Look at that. Look at that over there. See how they was digging in there? And then over here, they went this way. You see how the rock has been pushed up by the creek? Now, this is old stuff, okay? This is probably ancient riverbed here, all right? The creek is probably about 100 yards behind me. And over there, you can see that little hole where they crawl down in there to get that placer. And then right here is some more placer on the side of the hole. Right there you can see. Man, how cool is this? This is unreal. Unreal. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this one. Definitely. You know, a guy can get down in there if he had a ladder. Or there's some timber here. So there's the hole, and there's a timber that maybe a guy could put a rope on, although it looks kind of rotted. But it ain't very far from that outhouse, that deluxe one. As a matter of fact, it's just right over there is where that deluxe outhouse is. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. Yeah. How cool is that? And then right there, you could see the layers of the placer. Yeah. And it's like that all the way down as you get down in there. You know, when I'm out here, I never forget to smell the roses. Or in this case, wild orchids. How cool is that? Yeah. Coming out here is, like I've said before, it's not just about the gold. It's just about being out here. Okay, so right here, we've got a pile of rock. And above it looks kind of like a road. Of course, not being used anymore. But this rock looks like there might have been a structure right here. And then just to the left of it, there's some remains of an old building. That looks like the remains of a chimney. But the real interesting thing, fellas, is this right here. Now, this is a walkway that they put over this trench. Look what we have, and this is the first one of these I've ever found. Very first one. And this is a well. And right there is where the water is. You can see the sky, that cloud running through there. I never found one of these. This is the first one. First well I ever found. And it looks like it's still functioning. So yeah, that's the well. And they've got that rock right there to support a bucket. And then they got that walkway right there. How cool is that? And then up there, right there, that's where the structure was. Now here's the top of an old cook stove right here. Iron, of course. You know, it got me thinking, every time you come to these sites, you usually see iron, you know, of broken pieces of days gone by. I believe years and years from now, they'll be finding plastic, and that'll mark our time here on Earth. All the plastic we're leaving behind. That's just the way it is right now. But it'll last a lot longer than this iron. But that's pretty cool right there. I mean, that's the top of a stove. Dave is pretty established here. I mean, you know, when you bring a cook stove like that and you build a Johnny and then you build another one, a deluxe model, a 2-hole cedar, you know, I mean, there's definitely putting some effort here. They must have did pretty good here. But the other thing, guys, is one thing you could always tell, if you don't see carbide cans, then you know it's probably placer and surface mining. When you start seeing carbide cans, look around for an adit or a drift or a shaft, because that means there's underground. So that's one way to know what it is you're going to need to be looking for. Carbide means underground. No carbide, she's above ground. Usually placer. Now, if you remember in that video, Gold Mine Death Trap, when we was underground, we came to that little fork, and there was a bucket standing there. Remember that? And this looks exactly the same vintage right here, but this is above ground. So they're probably from the same time period. We're coming into it now, fellas. There's a really, this is the thick of it here. And from the looks of it, there's been some recent activity right here. You see that topsoil they threw right there. And they was digging in there. And there's the stratification. Now we're not that far from the creek. I could take a rock and hit it from where I'm at. And I ain't no Sandy Koufax. Well, actually, I'll show you right over there. I don't know if you can see it. Right there is where the creek is. Here's that other one. And the good news is there's no claim. This is not claimed up. This is still open. So, you know what? I'm going to come back here and work this placer a little bit with a pan and bring a sluice box. And if I hit a nice little old streak, I might just run some material through that sluice box. I got one of them expeditions I just picked up back in January. I haven't even put her in the water yet, so I just might come up here and check this one out. It looks pretty good. There's a lot of places to choose from. All right.
Well, fellas, that's going to do it for this adventure. I sure hope you enjoyed it. I had fun and found a camp there, placer camp, that I didn't even know existed, because like I say, there's no account of it anywhere in any of the records or any of the maps. But they certainly were doing some work there. You know, anytime you put in a log cabin like that and 2 Johnnies to boot and then upgrade her to a 2-holer, you know that they've been there a while and they was making some money, you know, pulling some color out of there. There was a lot of different placer diggings there, and some of them looked like they were worked not too long ago. So there must be 1 or 2 other people that knew about her, but like I say, I haven't heard anything about her through the grapevine or anything. So it was really nice sharing it with y'all, and I sure hope you enjoyed it, and hope your summer's going good and that you're in good health. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, and hey, y'all stay safe. See ya.
Look to hear what I found. Oh, buddy, check that out. I just now found it. I mean, just right now. Now, I don't know how far down it goes, because you're looking at it just like me for the first time.